Hello and welcome back to the Casual Fanatic. Hopefully this is a more positive note of a video. Last video was a little bit rough, one of the toughest times at least this season. Last season I experienced that a lot, but still repping, proud and everything. Today we're talking about Champions League, predictions, players to watch, what to look out for in the second leg. I know there's already, last night there was the Dortmund-Chelsea game. There was the Bruges Benfica, demolition basically. I didn't think it was worth making prediction because honestly I thought it was going to be pretty straightforward. Yes, there was some interesting factors in the Dortmund Chelsea game to analyze and talk about, but just mainly I just was Chelsea have the technical quality superiority. Dortmund are so reliant on the technical security that Jude Bellingham has and his ability to drive the ball and create that. If Chelsea can even negate that a little bit, should be an easy game for Chelsea. Their problem has been the fact that they can't score, the offensive output. They just don't have that final incision there, right? That's why I thought it was very smart playing Sterling. That gives you the constant, direct output that you can have. And that's what Chelsea did, and he scored. They also then had a penalty, which I thought was a little bit fortunate. I thought it was a penalty, but it was fortunate the way everything obviously panned out. Just Dortmund never really looked like threatening Chelsea properly. Jude Bellingham did have an absolute sitter that he missed, but I thought again there are impressive elements that you could see where the potential is with Jude. The directness, the ability on the ball, the close control, the physicality is really what keeps astounding me every time. Is he's a powerful, athletic young man, and he's only gonna grow further into that body, and he's gonna get even more powerful in midfield. And I think that could be a real big asset and differentiator for him amongst all other midfielders. In terms of Club Brugge Benfica, there wasn't really much for me to be able to comment on. I've only seen a couple of their players consistently, and in general I don't watch either team very often, and that's why I couldn't really comment too much, especially not make a prediction. 2-0 first leg, Benfica going back home. You could kind of sense where this tie was going. And Benfica progressed. Gonzalo Ramos looked immense. And it's going to be interesting to see if anyone picks him up in the summer. I'd love if United would go for him instead of maybe a Osimhen or Kane if there's not options available. I'm not saying I'd prefer them over those two, but just if those are not available, that would be a great option. Now, get into the predictions. I'll start off with some of the easier ones, then we'll dive into some of the more interesting games of the game weeks for the second leg. So first, Napoli Frankfurt. I watched back a little bit of it, like the 30-minute highlights of it, and it's just clear Napoli are the better technical team. They have more quality. They're on fire. They're still on form. I know they just lost to Lazio, but they're on form. They're playing well, and I just feel like this is a mismatch and a step too far for Frankfurt. Players to watch for me is going to be Zielinski. He just looked so comfortable. He was able to move around and facilitate the play so easily and comfortably for Napoli. And it just didn't seem like they had an answer. So didn't have a bad game. Even he was someone I pointed out who needed a good game, and he didn't have a bad one. But the fact that they have just no offensive threat really to trouble that Napoli defense, who's been very solid, and it's been an underrated part of their season. And a lot of people are talking about their attackers and some of the midfielders, but no one's really talking about how solid that defense has been as well. And that's going to be a big part now. For me, I think Napoli, though, is going to be the question is, I mentioned first leg that Kvaratskhelia is going to be very important and very difficult for them to stop. Again, their right side was horrendous that game and really struggled to do anything of any note defensively. And that's why I think this is going to be the most important question, are they going to be able to have anything to combat Napoli's attack, especially on that right side of defense for Frankfurt? Are they going to stay in the back three, which I would assume they do? Then who's going to be the wing backs and the right center back that are going to be able to contest that? It's going to be a big question and a big ask for them. My prediction is 3-1 Napoli. I think they come away, they're going to be comfortable. I think they might get a consolation goal, but I don't see it happening really for Frankfurt, especially without Colomwani playing as well. That's their striker suspended, he's out. It's going to be a tough ask for them. So I'll assume Napoli are going to go through. Next leg is, let me go for one of the ones that most people kind of are aware of what's happening really, is Madrid-Liverpool. Look, I left that one for the last as my prediction last time around, but this time it's just I think it might be too much. You're going to the Bernabeu. It's such a difficult place to go in on a European night, and you're asking to get a 3 goal difference and make that up. It's so difficult, and with thank God there is no away goals for Liverpool. Well, not thank God. I kind of want them knocked out as well. Need something to make us feel a little bit better after what happened. And I just don't think they have it in them to be able to keep a 3 goal difference scoreline against Madrid. Don't get me wrong, I think Liverpool are going to score. I think they're going to be very aggressive. I think they're going to be riding on such a high confidence. I think Salah and Nunes is going to be crucial in this game. And the question is, how many goals can they put past? How many goals can they score? Now my prediction is 3-1 Liverpool. I know last time I said 3-0 Liverpool and then it went literally the other way around in terms of goal difference. I do think it's going to be 3-1. I think Liverpool are going to be high. They're going to shock Madrid. Madrid are not in the best form. They just tied with Betis as well. I think this is a game for Liverpool to really come on and shock again. And I think Liverpool might get ahead, maybe 1 or 2 goals up. Madrid claw one back. Kind of lost hope there for Liverpool then. And then maybe they score a late, like just a pride goal. Really, that goal shut off. That's really all they might get there at the end. But if that does happen, Liverpool should be very proud of this week. They had one of the best, probably the best results in their history in terms of like a one-off game that doesn't have a trophy behind it. And then an amazing performance at the Bernabeu, which has been such a tough place for them. That would be a decent return for them. I think it would also mean that they end their streak of losing to Madrid. Those factors would be very important for the team moving forward. I think it would be a great confidence builder, and I think it would almost guarantee them propelling them into the top 4 this season. That being said, I think the most important player is going to be Nunes. Does he have a scoring boots on like he did against United? Is just everything going to fall right for him? And if it is, I think he can really hurt them, especially if they use that physical advantage that he does have over Carvajal. If they do, that could be a real avenue for them to attack, and it could be dangerous. Now, it depends also what kind of midfield setup Madrid go for. We've seen them change it around, and now with pretty much everyone fit, you have Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Modric, Kroos, Valverde. The question is, what balance are they going to go for? How are they going to try and contest with the fact that they know that Liverpool are not going to really dilly-dally in midfield, and they're going to try and play quick in transitions. That's what they have to do. Liverpool need goals as fast as possible. And I think the most important player is going to be Kroos for Madrid. I think you have to play him. I think he's going to give you such a calmness and control in the game that if he's played, I might change my prediction. I might change it to a 1-0 Madrid or a 2-1 Madrid. Because I just think that's how important it is of him just dictating, controlling the tempo, not losing the ball, recycling everything just flowing through him. Is going to give them such a calmness and composure on the ball that I just don't see Liverpool being able to have enough of the ball to trouble Madrid. And that's why I do think Madrid will progress. The way it's going to pan out really depends on how Ancelotti decides to tackle this in terms of midfield setup. I think the rest is going to be very similar, but it's just how adventurous does he want to go, or how combative versus control-based. That's really the question here. Because there is, of course, the worry that if you do go Modric, Kroos, and let's say Tchouaméni, that maybe you lose out physically. Maybe Liverpool really are combative enough that they get the advantage there, and that's something that they're able to expose. I don't think that's the case. I think he should go for that control midfield. I don't think he should try and go for a combative game, because in those games, a lot of the time, it's a lot of will, a lot of attitude, and sometimes duels can just fall the wrong way for you. And if you do start to do that in a combative game, you could lose out big. But in a control-based game, regardless, you're going to have the control of the ball the majority of the time. And even if they do want to combat, it's going to be less opportunities than it would be if you're controlled, right? So I just think that Kroos is going to be so crucial for them. And I do think Madrid go through. Next game, Man City Leipzig. Now this is one where I was kind of indecisive because I don't like the way City are playing. I don't think they're in the best of form, and I think they are going to struggle again, and it's going to be a surprise one. Because that Leipzig team is no sleeper team. It's a sleeper team right now. Everyone's not really thinking of them as a serious competitor or challenger for City. But I think they've shown that they can expose them. They can score against them. The fact that now Nkunku is back, that's going to be a huge factor, and for me, he's the player to watch. I do think at the Etihad, the way City are going to be in control of possession as they were in the first half. But the thing is, the XG wise, it was not. They can't create a lot. They're just not creating enough right now. And I think it's going to be important to bring back Foden into this lineup. I think he's going to be my player to watch. He's in really good form right now. And I think him isolating some of their fullbacks, him getting on the ball as much as possible, I think is going to be very crucial for them. And if they do play Foden and he is able to continue that form, I think they will win this game. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is the shock of the round. If of all the games, this is the one that I think could be the shock. You could see Leipzig dump out City, or at least take them far as an extra time or even penalties. I think City will have enough. I think 2-1 City at home. I don't think it's going to be as comfortable as you think. Players to watch will be Foden and Nkunku. Going to Inter Porto, I didn't really manage to watch much of this back. I got a few moments here and there, but don't know too much other than what I was reading in terms of stats and numbers. And what I saw was Inter had the ball, had the possession, but just couldn't penetrate enough and create enough XG. Well, goal scoring chances and everything. And Porto actually had a higher XG than Inter, which is an interesting one, because if they can capitalize on that, I wouldn't put it past them to be able to take Inter far or even beat Inter, because I don't see enough goals in this Inter team. I know they have 3 good strikers in Lukaku, Dzeko, and Lautaro, but that's why I think player to watch is going to be Lautaro, and how much he's going to be able to, if he's going to be able to finish this thing. He had 0.5 XG last time, didn't convert, 67% pass accuracy, and just wasn't 1 out of 3 dribbles, and he just wasn't useful enough in an offensive third to be able to, he just couldn't create enough, couldn't finish, and they need that from him. They need him to score. Get a nice early goal, kill the tie, and Inter will sail home, because I think defensively they're solid enough, their structure is good, they're able to keep control of the ball. So the question is, can they score early and kill the tie off? And I think they'll be fine. But if this goes and lingers on past the first half, I think it's going to really galvanize that Porto team. And I think Porto might actually end up doing something here. That being said, I'm going to go 1-1. I think Uribe had a good game last time around. I think he'll have another good game this time. And I think Porto might be able to hurt Inter. I'm going to have the faith in the fact that Inter might be able to score a goal. And if they do, I think they'll be fine. I don't see Inter conceding more than 1. And that's why I think Inter will go through. I just don't see them conceding multiple goals. Going into, so there's PSG Bayern left and Milan Tottenham. I'll talk about Milan Tottenham. Milan Tottenham, it's the battle of the left side of Milan versus the right side of Tottenham. What is the matchup there? What's it going to look like? How courageous is Tottenham going to be? How adventurous is Milan going to be? Are Hernandez and Leao going to be able to exploit that right side? Christian Romero is on that side, which really helps Tottenham out a lot and gives them a good matchup for Milan. And I think it means that if Tottenham can then go the other way around and exploit the spaces that will be left behind Hernandez when he goes forward, I think if they exploit it right and they fill the lanes correctly, I think it's something that they can really get into isolation situations with Tomori and some of the center backs, and that's really what they want. Both their wide side center backs possess some pace and physicality that means that they would be able to contest with those situations, but getting smart underlapping runs, interchanges, playing much tighter than they usually do in between each other in terms of Kane, Son, and Kulusevski. I don't think you need to be as wide. I think it just gives you more time to be able to come back on recoveries for Tomori and Hernandez. You really want to be tight. You want to interlink right now. You want to create those smart little 1-2s, utilize some of the space that will be left in behind the fact that they are only playing 2 midfielders. I think it's going to be Leao, Kulusevski are going to be the most important two. How much defensive work is Kulusevski going to have to do? Are they going to play Pedro? They can't play Pedro Porro. So Emerson Royal, how well is he going to defend? Or is he even going to be tasked to go forward? It's going to be very interesting to see what they end up going for in that kind of setup, especially in the sense of I think Leao's matchup against Christian Romero is going to be huge. if he's going to be able to get the better of him, I think Milan will coast this game. I think they'll be able to create enough chances that they'll take advantage of that. Because if you can create and get the ball to Giroud, I think he has the physical advantage there to be able to score. That being said, I think it might end up being so overthought here that, and tactically, let's say, interesting, and they're both going to try and nullify each other's attacking threats, that it might end up being a little bit of a slow game where it goes to extra time. And I think it might go penalties. And if it's penalties, I kind of back Spurs to win. I think it's a little redemption arc for Kane. This might be a little bit of just a romantic story, but I think getting that revenge for Kane, getting him through in the knockout stage, I think it's something that Tottenham could use to springboard them to revive really. No one's really talking about them in terms of the top four. Like, people are talking about them in top four race because obviously they are fourth right now, but in sense of most people are like, want to say Newcastle, want to say Liverpool, people are even throwing in Brighton. No one really wants to talk about Tottenham, and I understand why, because they've been extremely inconsistent. They just can't string together results, and they're just coming off a loss to Wolves. They did hit the bar a couple times, the woodwork a couple times, and that is unlucky and everything, but regardless, they need to get goals. They need to do better than they have been this season, and I think this could springboard them into that. We'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting, and I do think Tottenham will progress on penalties. But we'll see. That's one game I'm interested in. Sadly, I won't be able to watch it because it's the same time as the biggest tie, of course, PSG Bayern. Now it's in the Allianz. Bayern already won the away leg 1-0. Mbappe didn't come on until the second half though. Neymar's not available now, which I actually think is a positive for PSG. Not because Neymar's not been playing well, and I think Neymar would still be an elite player for so many teams in the world. But it just doesn't work. Those three together, it just doesn't work. Not in the Champions League, not at the elite level, not with the way these teams press and are it's solid structurally, and the way they have control and how intelligent some of these managers are tactically. I just don't think having three players that kind of want to coast and be outside of the the pressure system, it just doesn't work. It makes it too easy for the opponents to build up, transition between the thirds. And I just don't think that's a method for them to go forward. I do think playing Mbappe and Messi is the best way forward. I do think, regardless, that they're probably going to move on Neymar in the summer. We'll see what happens with Mbappe. I'm assuming he's going to stay with the new contract extension he just signed. Messi is an interesting question here, what he decides to do. He might go back to Barca. He might move to America. He might move back to Argentina. He might retire. He's done it. He finished the sport. There's nothing more to do. He's the GOAT. Anyway, this is not a GOAT debate kind of video anyway. But I do think Mbappe looks so dangerous. I think with Pavard's suspension, I think with João Cancelo not being favoured right now, because they don't want to play him in a back four. They see him as I don't know where they want to play him. I think it's an interesting question right now. How Bayern are going to line up? Are they going to line up in a four? Are they going to line up in a three at the back? That's going to be a very important factor. And also, I think I didn't even write down a player to watch for Bayern. There's obviously Kimmich, and is he going to just be able to boss this game and have complete control over that PSG midfield? Or is this going to be... But I wrote down the player to watch is whoever is going to play on the right back, right wing back, right centre back kind of position. Because who's going to be able to stop Mbappe? And then Nuno Mendes overlaps. This is what's going to be so important, that battle. Are they going to be able to compete? It already looked like it troubled them, and they got in behind. They did score a goal that was disallowed. It's going to be risky for PSG, for Bayern. And I don't know if Bayern have enough goals right now going forward, with potentially a couple of players missing. I don't know if Choupo-Moting, Muller is going to be able to be the connection that's going to create enough goals. I do think they score. I do think Bayern score. But I just have this feeling that PSG might just... This is going to be the year where they keep progressing. There's so many weak teams right now across the Champions League. No one's really flying. No one's an outright favorite. And I think this is the exact year for PSG to be able to do it, if they are ever going to do it. I don't want to say ever, because eventually you throw enough money at it, you'd assume that it would work. But I do think 2-1 PSG in regular time. I think they'll have enough. And then I think they score in extra time, probably a Messi winner. That's what I assume. I think Mbappe regular time in the 90 minutes, and then a Messi winner. That's what I would assume in extra time, maybe even in regular time. If it does go to penalties, I would back Bayern. Just saying that now. I just think there's too many big names at PSG, too much pressure on them. I think Bayern would be able to, been there, done that. They know what to do. I think if it goes to penalties, I think Bayern are the favorites. No away goals, so the 2-1 would mean they go to extra time. It's going to be in some interesting ties. I think the Milan-Tottenham and the PSG-Bayern are definitely going to be interesting ones. How much can Liverpool do? How much damage can they do? Could they do the impossible again? We'll wait and see. Some of the ties are not that interesting. The Inter-Porto, even though it is a little bit more than perceived, the Frankfurt-Napoli is kind of a foregone conclusion. Leipzig-Man City should be a Man City progression, but don't be surprised. This has been The Casual Fanatic. Let me know what you think about this video. Let me know if you want me to keep doing prediction videos, keep talking about them. Do you want me to do more reactionary or predictive stuff? What do you want me to continue? What series do you want me to continue on the channel? And yeah, like and subscribe. Any feedback is great. And see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.